Phoenix resident Frederick E. Ferguson, following his graduation from high school in 1958, enlisted in the United States Navy. Wanting to fly helicopters, he left the Navy for the Army in 1962, eventually being promoted to warrant officer and receiving his Army aviator wings in May of 1967. Two short weeks later, CWO Ferguson was in Vietnam, assigned to the 227th Aviation Battalion, 1st Cavalry Division. The 1st Air Cav and its helicopters had become a primary assault weapon for the U.S. Army, freeing the infantry to attack the enemy at a time and place of its choosing. CWO Ferguson spent the next 9 months flying 1st Air Cav missions, delivering supplies and troops into hotspots across the region. On January 31, 1968, CWO Ferguson would be thrust into the flight of his life. The Tet Offensive had begun. The combined forces of the North Vietnamese Regular Army and the Viet Cong launched a major offensive on scores of cities and towns across South Vietnam. U.S. forces, caught by surprise, quickly retaliated. Depending heavily on helicopters to move supplies and troops, American and South Vietnamese forces mounted a fierce counterattack. Amid heavy fighting, American soldiers and a UH-1 Huey helicopter were downed inside a South Vietnamese Army compound in the enemy-held city of Hue. Once on the ground, they found themselves surrounded by attacking North Vietnamese. CWO Ferguson, commander of a resupply helicopter monitoring an emergency call from wounded crewmen and soldiers, volunteered to attempt an evacuation. His response drew the attention of other pilots in the region, flanked by attack helicopters doing their best to provide cover from the intense anti-aircraft fire. He landed his aircraft in an extremely confined area in a blinding dust cloud while under heavy mortar and machine gun attack. The firefight raged around them as crew members and soldiers dragged the wounded on board. Although the helicopter was severely damaged by mortar fragments during the loading of the injured men, CWO Ferguson disregarded the damage and flew his crippled aircraft through a hail of fire. Barely clearing the surrounding buildings and treetops, CWO Ferguson pushed his shredded helicopter back to the base at Phu Bai, delivering his wounded passengers to medical staff. His extraordinary determination saved the lives of 5 of his comrades. Chief Warrant Officer Frederick Edgar Ferguson, for his conspicuous gallantry and courage under fire and at the risk of his own life, was the first U.S. Army aviator in Vietnam to be awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor.
American Legion Baseball. A winning tradition since 1925. Thousands of young athletes have participated, and countless lives have been changed.
And that was the fun part of summer ball and Legion was we just played. At that stage, I think everything's so pure. You're just wanting to play ball. I would 100% recommend it.
Legion Baseball is one of many programs of the American Legion, supporting our children, our military, and their families. Find out more about how we continue to serve America.